Welcome into part 2 of our Draft Eve preview with Kris Pursiainen. We talk about a couple of different wings, Baylor Scheierman, Johnny Furphy, Terrence Shannon Jr., before ultimately making our predictions on how draft day will go for the New York Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I wanted to remind you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I want to thank you for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day. If you want to become an everydayer, and now's about the time you should. We are going twice a day covering the NBA draft. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to have more content for you on Paul George, and then we're going to dive into everything free agency as soon as that gets kickstarted over the weekend. So to make sure you don't miss an episode, be sure to subscribe on YouTube, hit that notifications bell, and hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast platform of choice so you always have us in your ears on the go. That sounded a little disgusting, but if you're still with us, I'm Gavin Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. Part 2 today with Kris Pursiainen. If you missed part 1, go check it out. We talk Tyler Kolek and what the best case scenario would be for the New York Knicks on draft day. Now we're going to get into some wings. So without further ado, here's Kris. All right, so let me throw 2 more wings your way. One older, one younger. So maybe that was a hint of your answer. But continuing this versus series, Baylor Scheierman, Johnny Furphy. Do you have a preference between those two? Does one stand out as a guy that you love? Because we haven't touched on either, and both of them really intrigue me with their size and shooting. Obviously, Furphy higher ceiling. Most likely Scheierman, I'm a big fan of his passing and how intuitive and how quick his processing is. And I think both of them, but Scheierman in particular, could come in and be really good shooters quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's both of their starting calling cards,
Sure.
Furphy, someone who had one scholarship offer from Sacramento State at this time last year. And he did a summer basketball tour, and after that Kansas was like, we want to pick you up. And so someone who had one offer total ends up going to Kansas. 6'9". He put up 9 and 5 shooting 37 from deep in conference play. I just can't look at him right now and think that has a chance at playing in the Knicks rotation. And the reason for that is not because I'm so low on him as a product. It's just he is so young and has a lot to learn. Because of his size and skill set, some team should take that bet and make it and invest in him. A lot of people are mocking him to the Orlando Magic. I don't see them doing that. I could see them going for Jacoby Walter or maybe even, Carrington won't make it that. I don't think he makes it that far, but if he did, him, right? So they should take someone young like that, not, for Furphy, he's just raw. He's an upside shot, but he's raw right now. It's not like an Emmanuel Quickly, just to go with the Knicks example, where the shot's really good right now. The defense is really good right now. The playmaking for others there's been flashes. And then if the handle tightens up and he develops more comfortability in the paint, he could be an all-star. Furphy is more maybe he can play right now. So as a result, those look at Jett Howard, talk about the Magic, right? Some guys like Grady Dick, right? Again, Kansas shooter, right? But some guys just need a little bit. And I think Furphy's not the prospect that Howard or Dick was. And so it's a tougher sell of how worth it is it to play this guy and watch him struggle. Again, the Knicks are good right now. I think that's the most important thing to remember going into this draft. The Knicks are a good team right now. They're not looking for a final piece in this draft. They're also not looking for a swing at the moon. Like, I think they're just looking for another good player to add to the roster. Scheierman would fit that bill. So Scheierman, lots of people in the Big East think he was one of the best players in the whole conference this past season. He can do a little bit of it all, except for defend, where Sam Vecini told me on Draft Class he thinks he's underrated on that end of the court. And I never thought he was too terrible, but I'll defer to Sam. Maybe go somewhere in the middle. Mediocre, right? Sure. And like, but mediocre is good enough with how versatile he is offensively. And like, to me, that's someone who can come in and fill a variety of roles for the Knicks if someone gets hurt, who say they make a trade early on in the season that's a 2-for-1. So Scheierman gets in the rotation, that he could hang, he could stick around. However it is that it plays out, Baylor Scheierman to me seems like someone that Tom Thibodeau would love, that would fit on this Knicks roster, that has potential to fill needs this season, but also can grow and be someone a little better than what you got day one. I think he's a nice blend of floor and upside in a draft class like this, where you're not necessarily desperate for upside, because this is a draft where, you know, like I always say, like Marcus Smart went 6th overall and no one cares nowadays, because it's just, you just get a good player and the rest of things work themselves out. Enough guys go bust entirely that no matter where you pick them, just getting a good player is really worth something. If Bub Carrington goes with the 19th pick and turns into Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like 10 of the guys in this first round are not going to have long role-playing careers on contending teams. I think you take that. I think Bub Carrington can be much better than that. I really like him. I'm sold. I have a lot of stock. That said, if he turns into Nah, are you that mad if you drafted him and you got someone who can hang in a rotation when you're a contending level team? I don't think you're mad.
This is the thing. Fine. Like, I think people like consistently overestimate what the average return is on like a post lottery pick. Like, if you get any kind of rotation player after 14, that's a win. Usually, if you get an above average rotation player after 14, that is a big win. Like
yes,
and especially in a draft like this. But I'm with you on Scheierman. I think I'm not as opposed and like as you seem to be on the idea of getting someone who like won't contribute for a couple of years. And I think I see both sides of the argument that the window is now, and that there is like, you just have to maximize it. You just have to get guys that can play right away. I think I also look at it like Jalen Brunson is like 27 years old. And there's like, if you look at this as like a 4-5 year run, like if you get someone 3 years down the road who could really be something, especially if the Knicks keep both of those picks. And I don't mind taking one.
Okay.
Though. Yeah,
that's it. If they keep both, right. Like, but here's the thing is, if you're going to do that, do it with like an Yves Missi, who can play behind Robinson and Hartenstein at a position where two players from that position do not share the court. Like Brunson and McBride can share the court. You really need another guard. So Kulik could share the court with McBride off the bench, and then McBride and Brunson can share the court. Like center, you're playing one. You're playing one non-shooting center. So go get an Yves Missi and have him start in Westchester for the full first season of his career, or maybe spend a lot of practices with the big camp, but play some games at least like half the season down in Westchester. That works for me. Like, treat him like a two-way, even if he's a first-round pick. Like, send him back and forth, not all the time. I mean, like maybe half a year and half a year, but that's where you do it. Or like even at a position like wing, like if you want to go out and draft a center like Edey who can help you right now, and then grab a wing that you store away for a couple years, I could see that too. But I'm kind of automatically operating under the assumption that one of those picks gets traded and they don't get a pick in this year's draft back for it.
It would be going against tendency to take someone who's super duper raw. Because to your point, like the guy, like Deuce is such a good example, because he's someone who you could say, well, look, like they did essentially redshirt him for 2 years, but also like, I don't think that was because he was ultra raw. I just think it was because Tom Thibodeau was like, I'm only playing dudes who are going to contribute to winning right now. And you might be a pretty good rookie, but generally a pretty good rookie is going to be a negative player in the NBA. So it does, even with the good guys, it takes 2 years. And it's like, it's this fascinating, like constant tug of war between Tibbs in the front office, and not that the front, like I think the front office has similar ideals at the end of the day, but they're willing to go a little bit in the opposite direction and draft for upside down the road. Like even Obi Toppin is an older player in some ways was like an upside pick where there was like a lot to figure out there in terms of what it looked like for him in the NBA. And Tibbs was like, all right, but I'm not like, I have Julius Randle. Like this guy isn't getting 25 minutes a game. Like I'm not playing without rim protection just so I can develop this dude and figure out every part of his game. A tangent aside, Scheierman, I think is perfect because I think he like 5 years of college, like 3 years of really high level important ball or 2 years of really high level important ball at Creighton, like proven rebounder. I think 4 straight years, 8 rebounds per game. And I think one of the great ways to leverage OG Anunoby that we didn't get to see last year because you just didn't get a lot of time with Bojan Bogdanovic is putting like shooting and playmaking next to him. And the great part about that is like if you have shooting, playmaking, athleticism, those guys are incredibly hard to find. Shooting, playmaking, size, like hard to find, not impossible to find. And Anunoby is such a defender and such a help side rim protector that you can afford to get away with someone like Scheierman, someone like Bogdanovic, who are not great athletes there, and take advantage of the fact that those guys are hyper skilled, hyper intelligent. And I think in Scheierman's case, like is almost he's going to have to prove that he's not a disaster on defense, to your point. But if he's not,
I think he will. I think he'll show
just from
that.
an IQ perspective, right? Like he is ready for playoff basketball. So I really like that. Another guy that you might put in that category, Terrence Shannon Jr., obviously with his legal issues now getting resolved, someone who maybe wasn't going to be a first-round pick, who now could potentially go in the top 20. But I think because that happened later in the draft process, at least on our end, maybe you've talked about him a ton. Like we haven't heard a ton about him. Like what do you make of him as a fit for the Knicks as someone who ESPN in their mock draft today had him going to the Knicks at 25? All right, guys, next on Locked On Knicks, we're going to talk about Terrence Shannon Jr., a prospect out of Illinois, could provide a scoring punch for the New York Knicks before getting into our final predictions here on Locked On Knicks. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle leveled up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Yeah, I definitely haven't talked a lot about him. I've been asked about him a couple times on like live shows like Dream. It would be a talent bet, I think, is just the easy way to put it, right? Like when you watch him play, even last season, you think this kid's really good. He can put the ball in the bucket. He's capable of doing that probably at the highest level consistently. But the Knicks are just so they've never, since hiring Leon Rose, taken anyone with any, like Damian Dotson, right? The last front office took that bet despite his legal troubles because they were desperate for talent. This is a Knicks team now where, sure, if they get a guy they really like at 24 and they can't trade out of 25 and Shannon Jr. is there, I could see them taking him and bringing him in and letting him be that guy who could really be something in 2 years while Jalen Brunson's prime continues on. But I think his best fit would be with a team that just needs a young punch of scoring today. Like, I think he could come in and be a little worse than Norm Powell, which is like,
we were talking about Ayo Dosunmu, someone who was on Illinois. Like, I don't know if they play similarly, but in terms of role, maybe, like, could you see something like that for him on the right team?
I think he's Ayo doesn't score. Like, I know like points analysis is just not, we can sit around and compare the back of the card all day and be like, well, he averaged more point, but like,
right. But he's not a bucket where Terrence Shannon Jr. is like a quote unquote.
Yeah.
Bucket.
So that's it. Yeah. That's it. If you want to, like, yeah, exactly. So like for Dosunmu, he's more of a go win you the margins, like Drew Holiday saying goodbye to his days of being an all-star guard to just go win the margins. Like, I think that's kind of like, if you listen to Paul George and his show, I think he's kind of itching to do that for some teams. So that's a plus if you're thinking about him to the Knicks, is that I think he'd be down to kind of relinquish his offensive control and just go out there and be like a wing version of Drew Holiday. Go be a stopper, go be a locker room leader, go be someone who's stealing and rebounding the hell out of the ball. Like Shannon is less of a margin guy to me, more of a scorer. So I guess that's the difference. But Terrence Shannon Jr. is really good. And I know someone who I like talking draft with who like last year thought he was a top 14 prospect. So, I just think the Knicks historically under Leon Rose have stayed away from any murky waters at all. Like, can you think of, like, I know I'm asking this live, but like, this is not rhetorical. Literally, like, can you think of any situation the Knicks touched with a 20-foot pole that was messy like that? I don't.
No.
Not on the court, at least. Like, not in a jersey. We know the coaching staff and front office, sure. One example of each. But in a jersey, I can't think of anything. So it's kind of tough. You don't want to write a guy off because he had legal troubles. You also don't. I'm not here to like lecture about politics, but like being found not guilty when doesn't automatically like exonerate your soul. So there's a whole there's a whole debate to have here, and that's not the point of this show. But I'll say, like, if he's there at 25, the Knicks will have done their deep dives and their character investigation, and I'm sure they'll make a decision that they're proud of, because they have not been a franchise to like sacrifice, whatever. But don't need to carry water. They speak for themselves.
Let's wrap up on this. What's your prediction? How do you think this goes? Do they try to consolidate? Do they trade up? Do they follow the pattern of recent years and trade out? I wouldn't mind it. I think there's utility in making both those first round picks, and again, just going like one each way. One guy who's going to give you something right away.
Yep.
Another guy who's like a longer term swing, because at some point there will be some kind of consolidation trade, and obviously the cap's going to keep going up with like especially if they do make a move for a Paul George or someone like that. Like, they're going to be pushing the second apron. You're going to need as much young, cheap talent as possible. So I don't mind stacking the coffers in that sense. They also know they have a bunch of picks going forward, and they have kind of the optionality to do that any year they want. Like, where do you think they ultimately fall on that spectrum? And if you want to be so bold, give me a player that you think ends up on the Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games. And the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the party going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Personally, I'm looking towards tomorrow night's NBA draft. There's one parlay that I really like. Donovan Clingan to be a top 5 pick and Zach Edey to be a top 15 pick, plus 170. So you're not getting ridiculous odds on it. But that's because I think it's extremely likely to happen. I cannot imagine that some team isn't going to trade up and take Donovan Clingan in the top 5. To me, he is the single safest prospect in this draft. Edey is rising up boards. I kind of am starting to think he's going to go in the top 10. I would be stunned if he got out of the lottery. So if you want a piece of that action, head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
Love it. I'll start off by saying it really is impossible without seeing who's on the board. And I know that's the most boring, cop-out, lame freaking answer possible. But like, the Knicks liked Trey Murphy, and they liked Trey Mann, and they liked all sorts of guys when they had the 19th pick that went like 14, 16, 17, 18.
They wanted Maxey the quickly year.
And so they tried trading up, right? Like, they tried trading into the late teens to go get him, and it didn't work. But I forget. If I can look up what draft was that literally like everyone they liked flew off the board in 2 seconds. 2021 NBA draft. Okay. So let's take a look at the board. And I'm doing this, and I'm taking the time to do this just to tell you how in flux this stuff is. Zaire Williams, they liked. He went 10. James Bouknight, they reportedly liked. He went 11. Chris Duarte, they really liked. He went 13. Trey Murphy, they really liked. He went 17. They liked Trey Mann. He went 18. So they said, screw it. And they traded out. That was, if 4 of those guys were on the board, I bet they would have been hard pressed trying to figure out who they liked most. I think they probably would have gone with Murphy, if not Duarte. That said, who knows that Zaire Williams wasn't the pick. Maybe they told him, we're taking you if you're there, right? Like we don't know. But the point is they were all gone and then they picked nobody. So if we get to 24 and Edey, Kolek, Ryan Dunn, Tyler Smith, if those 4 guys are gone, maybe they just trade out of one of the 2 picks, grab someone that they were going to take in the second round with the other pick, and then just trade the second rounder too. Like, we don't know, right? Like, if everyone's gone, I could see them taking Pacome Dadier at 25 and stashing him away for 1 year. I think he might want to come over this season, but if they stashed him away for just 1 year and then brought him over, another example of a guy who could really be something in 2 or 3 years. But if Ryan Dunn, Tyler Smith, and Tyler Kolek are all there, I would think they would go Kolek and Dunn. I think they're expecting Kolek to be gone from what I've heard. So I would think that, I guess, Dunn and Smith, if I had to guess, 2 guys, Tyler Smith, G League Ignite, Ryan Dunn, Virginia. But like, again, those 2 guys might be on the board and they might trade out of one of the picks and take the one that you thought they liked the least and then trade the other. Like, we just don't know. It depends on who's there. If Dunn is there, I think they'll take him in the first round. But now recent reports are saying he might not be. Like, everything is all over the place. I guess Kolek, Dunn, Smith, with the note that I think if Edey is there, he would trump everyone else. Again, no idea. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've been like on the phone with William Wesley and he said, well, let me tell you, Chris, if there's, like, it's just the Knicks. There was the one year where they really like trolled everyone and they sent out prospects to do interviews with the media that like they knew they weren't taking. That was really funny. So people are like, oh, do you think, what'd you think of did you like the front office? Did you like the coaching staff? How was the workout? And they're like, yeah, it was cool. Like they probably just got out of a meeting where they're like, we are not drafting you under any circumstance. That was like Malachi Branham's year, right? So
yeah,
they didn't really do that this year. We actually heard the guys they worked out, probably because agents got it out there, if nothing else. Edey, Kolek, Dunn, Smith, in that order. If there are 2 on the board, they'll take the 2 and probably a draft and stash at 38 for the sake of it, just because why not, to have it like for a trade or whatever the hell else. But I can't see them they're not drafting 3 players where one of them isn't a draft and stash, which, like, cut the Curb Your Enthusiasm music and cut to the Knicks drafting like Shannon, Furphy, and AJ Mitchell. I don't fucking know.
No,
but like,
I think you're right though. I would
you know what I mean?
I would be stunned. My goal, Chris, is 5 years we're going to be doing this podcast, and you're going to tell me. I actually did just get off the phone with William Wesley, and
he just said,
yeah, I need you to make that happen for me. I'm confident you will. Kris Pursiainen, before I let you go, can you tell everyone where they can find all your great work? And I know you've done a ton of different stuff for Knicks Film School, some non-Knicks Film School appearances too. So let everyone know where they can find all that if they want some more from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't trouble you with spelling my last name out letter by letter like you're an insurance company. So just look there. You can go follow
if you're on YouTube, this incentive. If you're listening on podcast, go to YouTube, see how to spell Chris's name. Yeah.
There you go. So there'll be a follow on Twitter if you want to keep up with, insider Knicks news and reporting and bad movie takes and whatnot. Also, New York Got Game with Dexter Henry. I just appeared on that crossover show between the New York Post and SNY. Talked about none other than the 2024 NBA draft from a New York Knicks perspective. This is my time of year, baby. So go check that out. Dexter is awesome. It was super kind of him to have me on the show and let me rock. But he came prepped himself, man. Like, he had takes flying on Pacome Dadier. I was like, dude, that's awesome. You have like 8 jobs. When the hell did you have time? He's like, dude, I like his game. He's smooth. I was like, damn, Dexter, you tuned in. But yeah. Thanks so much, Gavin. Thanks for having me on. Go follow me, Kris Pursiainen, on Twitter. Go check out New York Got Game on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel. That just came out today, day of recording. So that's exciting. And thanks again. Thanks if you're listening. Thanks if you're watching. Hopefully my ugly mug didn't crack your laptop screen, and peace out, everyone.
Wow, what an ending. All right. Kris will be live streaming during the draft. Alex and I'll probably put this in intro, but we were going to be at the draft. Got that great credential email this morning. So we will have a live podcast from there in all likelihood, if we can make that work. Plenty to look forward to. We'll talk to you soon. Locked On Knicks. And of course, over on Draft Class on Knicks Film School.